So something I haven't done on my channel in a long while is review a film series. This is pretty much my favorite thing to do, and it was what my channel was kind of known for a good long while. And I just have been on a kick of knocking out all these new movies and blah blah blah, and I've been watching so much stuff that I haven't went back and tackled any series. But it's high time I had Rebecca Reinhardt, my co-host on the In the Mic of Madness podcast, donate to my Patreon, so thank you. She went up to the highest tier level that I have, which is the Killer. And that is that you get every perk that I have plus a t-shirt, but she's got plenty of those. So, Rebecca, here you go. The Evil Dead franchise, the franchise that is yet to put out anything bad, anything that I haven't totally enjoyed the hell out of. From the TV shows, to the movies, to the video games, I mean, everything this property touches, even the freaking musical, which I got to see in Vegas, was awesome. So, The Evil Dead is just a property that can't seem to fail for me. And before we get into this, I probably show this in every one of my videos just because of how cool it is, and any excuse to show this off. So Frederick Wilby, I think, made this for me, sent it to me. How badass is this? Okay, he handcrafted this whole thing, a Necronomicon, or as this film would call it, it has a different name, which is the Natron Demanto. Like it's not called the Necronomicon in the first movie, but this thing's so damn cool. I love it. So for this, we're gonna pop it here. All right, so let's get into Evil Dead 1. Now, I guess the first thing you want to talk about with the Evil Dead franchise is Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2, is Evil Dead 2 a sequel? Or is it a remake? Or is it blah, blah, blah? Well, upon this viewing, I will say this. I thought it was interesting that there is a car in the swamp. And it's like just the bumper and the lights are sticking out. And because the car in the opening of this movie looks kind of similar-ish to that car in the swamp, and the car that's in Evil Dead 2 is very similar to the one in this one as well, if not the same car. I'll have to compare the two when I watch it here. I haven't watched it yet since. It's been a little while since I've seen Evil Dead 2. But I'm thinking maybe we got some kind of paradoxical thing, especially since we get time travel and all of this. I think one may have happened and then it cycled, and here we go. And it's like an alternate universe kind of thing where it's technically a sequel because it is events from the first taking place again, because you got a lot of repetition in the second one, as you do in this one, with the necklace and the girlfriend, and there's a lot of similarities between the two films, hence why, you would consider it a remake. And I've always considered it to essentially be a remake, which it, in essence is. It's just kind of a reimagining in more comedic way. But I want to say that this is just kind of like an alternate reality, and because of that car, maybe there's another one that we never saw, or maybe Evil Dead 2 took place before Evil Dead 1, and that's the car from the first time. You know what I mean? It's all over the place. It's fine. I like that idea. And then the next cycle is the Evil Dead remake, or whatever you want to call it, with Jane Levy, directed by Fede Alvarez. That could be another alternate reality version of the cabin. So, I don't know. The swamp car just got me going, that would be an interesting spin on this. I've not seen that brought up. I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure a lot of people have talked about it. Honestly, I haven't watched any videos on the Evil Dead or read too much about it. I usually just stick to the films. I'd love to get more into like the behind the scenes stuff one day, but I'm always just Mr. I want to watch a movie. I want to watch the movie. I want to take whatever I can from the film. I rarely listen to commentaries. I rarely touch special features. It sucks because I do buy like the special editions with all these amazing special features, and I never listen to them, even on my favorite films. For the majority of them, I haven't listened to the commentary, even though I have fully enjoyed the commentaries for the most part that I've listened to and the special features. It's just not something I get too into, and be all the making of and all that stuff. I find it fascinating when people tell me about it. So I don't know. I'm always Mr. I want to watch the fucking movies and just take them for what they are right there and talk about the movies themselves without knowing really any of the backstory. But I don't mind knowing the backstory, and I actually find it very fascinating. I just don't. Anyway, let's stick to the film. All right, so we got them, the five friends here, and they're going, and there's this bridge, and when they go to this thing, I'm like, I would never drive a car across this fucking thing. Never in a million years. And they're driving, and he's like, oh my God, it's falling apart, and all these beams are falling off of it. It's like, you park the car, and you walk across that thing. It is not that far out to the cabin. I don't know if they know how far it is past that bridge, but I don't know, man. I would not drive that car across there. That thing was scary. And then the tire breaks through the bridge, and Ash looks out the door, or Ashley looks out the door, and he sees that there's a huge hole in this bridge that they're falling through. And he's just like, gives his, big expression of like, oh my God. And then the friend just drives over it like, no big deal. And they don't even like bring it up again. Like, oh my God, we all almost just died. Like, how the hell are we going to get back? I don't want to drive this car across this damn thing again. Like, it's only so wide. You can't really go around that hole. You're just going to have to drive back over. Hell no. I wouldn't drive that car back over that freaking thing. Although I guess if like a Kandarian demon was after me, maybe I would. But I'd hit that thing at about freaking 55 miles per hour. It would be like falling. It'd be like a video game. Like you're going across it as it's like falling behind you. Oh, man. So then they're in the house. They're playing around. They go down into this basement. The basement opens up, and the girlfriend's like, maybe it was an animal. And he's like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. This guy's a dick. Scott's totally a dick. There's even a point in the movie, you kind of hear it in the back. It's not like he's not like centered on the screen, and it's not like they're focusing on his character, but it's kind of in the background. He says something like, I'm gonna break your face. I'm like, dude, threatening to break your girlfriend's face? Yeah, real cool guy. But it's funny because he's like, the stupidest thing I've ever heard, and then somebody says it, and he's just like, well, yeah, okay, maybe it is an animal. I think he just says that to be a jerk more, but I don't know. It was a funny moment. I was like, wait, so is it the stupidest thing you've ever heard, or now are you agreeing? But he's like, you guys go down there. He's like, all right, fine, fuck it, I'll go down there. And then he goes down into the biggest basement ever. This thing goes on forever. It's like tunnels. They have like a freaking mine shaft under this little cabin. The cabin is tiny, tiny, tiny. And Ash is walking around in this underground freaking cave for so long. Same thing with part 2. Then they go and they find, the tape recorder and the what will then later become the Necronomicon, the Naturon Demanto. Yeah, it's funny. I didn't even remember that on this view. I was like, oh, that's right. They don't call it the freaking Necronomicon in this movie. But yeah, he sticks a gun in his face, and Ash just laughs, and he just laughs, and I'm like, if you stuck a gun in my face, especially one that was probably loaded, I would not think that was funny. You would probably get knocked out. That's crazy. You never stick a freaking gun in someone's face as a joke. That's about as unfunny as it gets. I do like the cut up little Hills Have Eyes poster that's hanging on the wall. I'm not sure, because what we hear on the tape sounds like an elderly gentleman and his wife lived there, and I'm not sure why they'd have Hills Have Eyes poster in their basement. But I know that there's a lot of like connections between Wes Craven and Sam Raimi's films. Now I'm talking all behind the scenes stuff, but I was listening to a podcast recently. They brought this up, how there's like in Wes Craven films, there's a lot of Sam Raimi references and vice versa. So this was the first one. I was like, oh, like there's one. Okay, I'm gonna be looking for him now. And oh my god, this necklace. What is up with this necklace? It's in both films and it's identically the same. In the first movie, this is an ultra low budget film, and I'm like, they just grabbed any piece of shit they could find. It's like a fucking magnifying glass. It is an ugly ass thing. She's like, oh my god, it's beautiful. I'm like, that's beautiful? Wow, you're freaking easy to please. No wonder he likes you. But in the second film, I just don't feel like there's an excuse. But I know they're just trying to tie it back. It's kind of a reimagination or an alternate universe if we're going down that road. I don't know. But this necklace, it's funny. I think we can all agree that that is a pretty silly-ass necklace. Although, if you were two horror fans now and you were dating and you got this for your significant other, I think that would be pretty adorable. But yeah, so then they bring up the book, they start reading, well, they press, play on the little thing there, and of course this brings the demon to life. I'm not sure why the demon needs to be brought, alive, because the guy already read it, right, in that cabin, so they'd already be out there. And they all, like, it's weird, like, why aren't they already out there? But the cabin is, like, the thing's moving, it's hitting, it stops. So it's kind of maybe already haunted, whatever. So I don't know. Do they go away after a little while? Do you, when you cam yourself, do you have to redo the, incantation or whatever? What is their range once they're released? Are they only allowed to stick within a certain amount of, square yards or whatever of where you performed the incantation? I don't know. The rules are all over the place in this fucking movie. I don't know how anyone turns in this movie, because it's like, they were attacked. Ash is attacked like 50 fucking times in this movie and never turns. But in the next movie, he turns in like 2 seconds, but then he turns, he doesn't, because he flips back because of the dawn, because for some reason in the next movie, the dawn, you're not able to be a demon during the day. Although we never get to see the day in this movie, so maybe that was the same here. But yeah, Ash never turns. And then characters in this don't even get touched and they turn. So I have no clue how things get turned. And then the like disembodiment or whatever that the tape says on how to get rid of these things cuts heads off, and that doesn't work. Like, so you have to cut off like every limb, because in each of these movies, dismemberment doesn't do it. Oh Jesus, my chair! How many times? I gotta get a new chair. Come on, that's a new Patreon level. You buy me a new chair, you get whatever movie you want fucking reviewed. Jesus Christ, this thing breaks on me all the time. But yeah, the rules are all over the place. I don't get a damn thing in this movie, but it doesn't matter. I know that like this had a doomed production, like it went on forever. I keep talking about behind the scenes things, but I know a little here and there about this movie. I know that like this film was being shot over like weekends with friends and whatever forever, and the production just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. So like actors just kept leaving. And so the majority of the time when you see the demons in here, they're called, fake shemps, as we all know them. And it's so obvious when you're looking for them now. Like, I don't know. Like, when I was a kid, when I was watching this before, I just thought it was maybe those actors and that makeup. I really wasn't paying all that much of attention. But when you pay attention, it is so clear that those are not the actors playing those characters. As I said, I didn't care. It didn't matter to me. I didn't even think about it. It was just like, it was just a demon. I didn't even connect what character that demon was to be like, that's not that girl. It didn't matter to me. The effects in this movie are good and bad at the same time. Like, for what they are, I think they're really good. But, comparative to Other films, they're really bad in a lot of ways. And the fake Shemp stuff, they're just clearly wearing masks. Like, you can see the mask is actually like pushed away from their face in the eye socket. It's not even fully like gripping their face. And then like Scott's wound on his face is really bad, noticeably bad. I have the Blu-ray, so it's like even clearer and whatnot. And I really like it though, because the film is so gross. It's so gooey. It's so just disgusting. I love the excess gore, the excess blood. Even though some of it doesn't look amazing, it still comes off as amazing. So they were able to pull that off. And how many films do you get to see where a chick is raped by a tree? That chick got some wood. And then I like the musical cues to let you know that you're in monster vision. Like every single time it would cut to that, because there's a lot of these really janky, weird camera movements. He's got these like odd Dutch angles throughout the flick and whatnot. But he really experiments with the camera in these movies. That's what I like about Raimi and his films. He's just very experimental with his shot selections and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, you got a chick getting raped from a tree. She runs back. She's completely cut up. She's all mangled and she's all distraught and whatnot. And people are, these guys, I don't know. I don't feel like they act like it's all that big of a deal. They act like, oh, she's making it up or this and that. And I'm like, look at her. Look at this girl. Clearly something happened to her. And they just push it off because she says something that to them can't be possible. So it's immediately like, well, she's fucking crazy. And it's like, she might be out of it, but clearly something's wrong. What do you think? She did this to herself? She just like tore up her clothes and freaking cut up all of her face. What, they think she just tumbled out there? She got scared? I mean, I guess it's possible. Maybe she has a history of making shit up and being all this and that and dramatic. That's what I like about the remake, is I like the drug angle that this girl's detoxing. So when she starts hallucinating and she starts seeing crazy shit and when she starts acting weird, they attribute that to she's on drugs, that she's detoxing from drugs. And I thought that was a really clever way to get around the whole, like, well, we should probably pay attention to a girl that's this fucked up. But it's like, we know she's supposed to be fucked up, and we're trying to be strong for her and not listen to her. We'll get to that when I get to that movie, though. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I'm really looking forward to getting back to that one, because that one's graphic and awesome and some of the best cinematography I ever seen. And then, yeah, when Cheryl runs back and she's like hitting on the door, it takes so long for someone to answer. Finally, after the cabin's like this big, it's seriously like one room with like a couple joining bedrooms that are like 2 freaking feet away from the door. Why does it take so long for anyone? And it's completely silent. There's no music being played. They're out in the middle of the fucking woods. There's no noise. Why it takes so long for someone to get to the door is ridiculous. And then Ash is like, all right, fine, I'll take you. And they get in the car and she's like, it's not going to start. I know it's not going to let us leave. And like starts instantly after she says that. It's almost as if, because that's just what it is. It's like the Evil Dead just loves messing with people. That's what I get from them. They're freaking like jesters, man. You know, they just like fucking with you. And so she says that, and then the car starts immediately. But it's like, the bridge is out. How does Ash see that the bridge is out so far ahead? Like when Cheryl's looking, she sees and it's just pure fog. And then she walks for like a good while before she finally finds the bridge up there. And Ash is up there like, all right, we need to get back in the car. We need to get back. And I'm like, why did Ash stop to get out of the car? Because he got out of the car seeing the bridge somehow from a freaking mile through fog. I thought that was hilarious. There's so many inconsistencies in this film. But honestly, as screwed up as the production was, I'm shocked this movie is as coherent as it is. I'm shocked how well this movie actually flows together. So they did a bang up job, working with what they had, not even having half or more than half of the actors that they had to start with. I think Ashley was like the only one, Bruce Campbell, I think he was the only one that actually stuck out the entire production. Hence why he's, the only one they bring back for the second movie. It's like, all right, we're going to give you your movie. You deserve your own movie since you stuck this out, since you're such a good sport. And then like all the mayhem starts with the whole card scene. Yes, we get the tree rape moment, which is kind of for us the big moment of like, oh shit, what's going on? But the card moment, Jack of Spades, Queen of Hearts, like I love that scene. It's such a great scene. And then she flies up and she's just fucking floating back and forth. Such a great effect. So the Deadites, I love them. They're very iconic for me. But that's when the mayhem starts for everybody. That's when everything just, from that moment on, there is not a second of this movie that's like downtime again. There's a good long while where Ash is like walking through the house, walking through the basement, all that stuff. And yes, it kind of runs a little long and might overstay its welcome for the most part, but it's fairly tense because you know that anything could pop out at any moment. Although if you've seen it a bunch of times, you know nothing does, so you're waiting. You're like, all right, this is where Ash walks around for 10 freaking minutes. So there's no tension after you've seen it. But the first time, there's good tension. And then just gore. There's a lot of great gore in here. The demon biting its own hand off once it's been kept. But like it bites its own hand off. The hand is attached to the knife, which then goes into its back. But then in another sequence, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I noticed it on this time. I didn't rewind it to confirm, but I'm about 1,000,000,000% sure. That same demon, then the axe, the Scott grabs the axe and starts cutting this thing up, and he cuts that same hand off again. The hand that had already been cut off gets cut off. Then he cuts the arms and legs off, and then he cuts that. But if you look, the other arm still has the hand on it, and this one has the hand sticking out of its back still. So you watch it and you're like, wait, you already cut off that hand. What the hell? Correct me if I'm wrong. This isn't a franchise that I know inside and out. This is one that I've seen each movie, I've probably only seen the first Evil Dead like 5 times in my entire life, and Evil Dead 2, I've probably seen a good amount more, maybe 20 or so times. Army of Darkness, probably the same. And then the Evil Dead remake, I've only seen once, which is weird. So I'm really looking forward to going back and rewatching that. I saw it in theaters, and I just have not seen it since, weirdly. So yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I won't be surprised if I'm right there because, as I said, this has a lot of problems. And just the hacking of the body is great. The pencil in the ankle and just moving it around inside of there. The eyeball gouge with both thumbs, which is a really cool effect. Lots of gnarly ass gore. The pipe full of blood. The decapitation as the body jumps in the air, which we kind of get a repeat of in part 2. And he comes down, he cuts it off. Body lands on him. The head's over there laughing as the blood's spraying in his face. That, as I said, the pipe just comes down. Blood, just gallons and gallons of blood. The milk spitting. I love that they're spitting milk. It's just like a freaking mouthful of, I don't know, that's supposed to be pus, right? And then it's just like shooting milk out the arm. And then the end too. I love that when he throws the book in the fire and the fire starts burning and the characters like fall. That one falls down, its face breaks open, and it starts to disintegrate and rot and decompose like in real time, like sped up. It's awesome. I love that stuff. It's great. It's like claymation stuff, and it's a labor of love. This whole freaking project is. And this is that film that deserves to get the recognition to then make that director somebody, because this is a passion project. This is pure love on the screen of people who were against all odds, who had nothing, and made something amazing, made something wonderful, something that's iconic. I mean, it's one of the more impressive films of all time for me, because this is just, I mean, there's a lot of directors who did this kind of stuff. Peter Jackson did it with Bad Taste, and Romero did it with Night of the Living Dead, and they had nothing except for a drive and a passion to make this little horror film, and they shot it on the weekends with friends, and they just made it happen. And I love to hear stuff like that, because it makes me, and especially with how things are now, with how easy things are now comparatively. You have a freaking 4K camera on your cell phone, and you can order anything online and have it shipped to your house for nothing, and editing software on your computer that's super cheap, and you can look at YouTube videos of how to do it. There's like no excuse not to make a fun film with your friends. And just to think of, like, back then when this was really hard, these guys did it. And what fucking excuse do we have? What excuse do I have? I'm getting on my own ass right now. Another thing that the Deadites can do here is they can kind of revert back to the way they used to look before they became Deadites and their face was peeling and whatever. Do they have the ability to manipulate the way our eyes see their, presence? I don't know if the demons don't actually look that way and we're perceiving them as demons, or if they actually take on that form and then they're able to trick our eyes to see that they look like they used to look. I don't know. That's an interesting thing for me. And if either one is true, could they make anyone look like anything? Could they make me look like, my buddy, and vice versa? Could they make me look like a completely different person? Like, I don't know. If they have some ability to trick your eyes, or actually like shape shift into a different looking person. Is it only limited to the persona you have, and you can make it more decayed or less and normal again? Like, is that your limited range? I don't know. As I said, the films don't really pay attention to their own rules they set up, although I don't know how many rules are actually set up, so they're kind of all over the place. I like the shotgun through the door. That was another, the face is all broken apart here. Great stuff. I think that's mostly in the oatmeal coming out the sleeve. That's pretty hilarious. It's like, that's oatmeal. Like, that's not even sort of looks like anything. And then the other stuff is like milk. They're having like breakfast cereal. That's all they had left on the set, was like, well, what else do we have? And it's like, we got to take this. It's like, don't take my breakfast, man. I got to eat. And it's like, we got to make a fucking movie. No one's got time for breakfast. Give me that oatmeal. Give me that milk. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, everyone dies. Ash is attacked. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, Ash survives. And then he goes off and he gets a girlfriend and he brings her back to the cabin. Bullshit. Unless his memory was wiped clean and then he was drawn back to the cabin. There's one way, I guess, you could take it and make it a sequel, I guess, and the events kind of replay. Yeah, okay. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? Just a straight up remake, part 2? I mean, I'll talk more about it when I get to 2. I'll watch it, hopefully tonight, and I'll get to it. I do plan on covering the Evil Dead television series as well. I look forward to it. Adios, guys.